Alright guys, round 3 feature match action from tonight's Friday night standard tournament. On the left, it's Ian Strege. Ian usually has to work Friday night, so we haven't seen him in quite a while, but he was available tonight. And he is borrowing Garrett Meadows' blue-white control deck. It's the Andrew Cuneo blue-white deck. The only win condition is an Elspeth. And the card you cannot see because he put it right in the glare is an Elixir of Immortality. His opponent is Jesse Hill, usually plays at the next shop over. But that shop is running Modern FNM tonight. So he and some of his friends are up here, so we appreciate them coming up. Glad to meet them. And he is playing red-green monsters. It's kind of the... I don't know if it's really red-green monsters. It may be the Colossal Gruul deck, is how you want to call it, red-green mid-range. But it is playing Voyaging Satyrs. And he is playing big Garruk, so I guess it's probably incorrect to call this red-green monsters. Probably should call it Colossal Gruul. But anyway, I'll say this. There's a World Spine Worm in this deck. And I'm very excited about that. So Jesse's starting off strong here with not one but two Burning Trees on turn 2. Now on turn 3 he has Nykthos and a Voyaging Satyr and 5 Devotion to Green. So make 5 green mana, cast a Nylea, God of the Hunt, and just pass his back there. I would think he'd be able to play another spell, but I guess not. So Ian casting a Divination on his turn 3, just trying to set up here, but facing down quite an army here. Obviously, I would think we would fire off a Supreme Verdict here without thinking much about it, but absent of that, I guess a D-Sphere, I guess we could debate the D-Sphere. Nope, we're going to play a Jace. He's going to tick it up, but he's still going to I guess he's preventing some damage here, but that Nylea by itself is going to be able to take out the Jace. But again, Jesse has the backbreaking combination here of Nykthos, a ton of Devotion. So serving in with the team here, delayed trigger from the Jace. I guess Jesse deciding how he wants to split up his attacks here. I would imagine you would send the Nylea at Jace and then the other at Ian directly. And that's it. What he ends up doing there. Ian tapped out, no shenanigans. And then we're going to activate Nylea, give everything, or activate Nylea for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Use Nykthos to activate Nylea and give something +2, +2. I really don't know what happened there. Oh, because they were -1, -1, yeah. So they net 4 damage to Ian directly. Jace is down here. Ian plays a tapped Sacred Foundry, but still no real business for him here. Still pretty fortunate to be in this game, as Jesse did have the dream scenario as an Azorius Charm is going to take out the Nylea here. Let's see if we activate it in response. So activate for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, then untapping it, so 10 mana. So floating 10 green here, 12 green. So we have 3 activations on Nylea if we want it. Yep, and that's exactly what happens. So chaining Nykthos activations to give 3 separate Nylea activations. So Ian's going to take 10, but he's going to cycle his Elixir. And when it's all said and done, he settles out at 7. Pretty brutal. Oh, question in the chat about the blue-white deck. It's not blue-white, it's American Control. He has Counterflux, you're exactly right. I completely forgot. So Ian in a pretty good spot here if he can find a sweeper. We know that there's a Nylea on the top of Jesse's deck, but D-Sphere on the Burning-Tree Emissary is going to take out both copies. And now Ian's in a lot better situation, not only because he's taken care of 2 threats, but because he's shut off Jesse's access to Devotion, so that Nylea is not going to be nearly as impactful as it had been in previous turns. So there is a Nylea we knew about, but a Counterflux is going to answer that. And then Jesse just going to serve in for 1 with the Voyaging Satyr, not how he drew it up. But with Ian at 7 life, now down to 6, definitely relevant. So Ian, I think, debating his play here, decides just to pass the turn back. He is on the 1 Elspeth only control deck. So we're desperately digging for that, just trying to stall the game until we can take over with Sphinx's Revelation. And at end of turn, Ian's going to go ahead and fire off his first copy of Sphinx's Revelation. Going to go up to 8, but more importantly, draw 3 cards. And then Jesse plays a Rubblebelt Raiders, it looks like. We'll go ahead and bring that up. So whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it for each attacking creature. So kind of a mini win condition in its own, a little bit of a Whirling Dervish type action, but it does, again, add to the devotion count here. So digging out the counters, but they're not going to matter because Ian is going to Azorius Charm. He is going to take 1 from the Voyaging Satyr. And then there is a post-combat Kalonian Hydra. And there's Ian's 1 copy of Disperse. So effectively just going to time walk Jesse here. And that's all this deck needs to do. It just needs to slow the game out as best it can. So Ian lining up his mana here. And there's the Jace. I guess I misspoke. The Elspeth is not really the only win condition. You can win with a Jace ultimate as well. And here is the -2 off Jace. It's Sphinx's Revelation versus D-Sphere and a red-white Temple. And Ian choosing to take the second pile. If you are Jesse, you have to be crushed by that, as Ian voluntarily passing up on the Sphinx's Revelation to take the D-Sphere. So let's see what Jesse's got lined up here. Really needs to find something to give him access to some more devotion, really take advantage of that Satyr. And the Nykthos. That Satyr came down on turn 2 and has not gone anywhere. But yet Jesse's really only been able to take advantage of it a couple times to filter some mana or sink some mana into a Nylea activation. And then just using the Satyr the hard way to untap a force so that we can play a Sylvan Caryatid. after resolving the Rubblebelt Raiders we already knew about. And the chat pointing out that the interaction between D-Sphere and Disperse is pretty fun. And finally, Ian finds a Supreme Verdict. It's interesting, it's pretty well played here by Ian to have stabilized and to manage this game, not having been able to find a Supreme Verdict until just now. There's Jesse landing an Arbor Colossus. We know Ian has a D-Sphere in his hand, so worst comes to worst, he can take care of the Colossus that way. And that is in fact what he chooses to do. Also shuts off Devotion, but he's going to minus the Jace here, revealing 3 lands, so I would give him Temple or no, I guess? So set up your draws or take the 2 lands. But Ian does need to be wary of that Mutavault that Jesse has freshly played, as that will cause him some problems, as it does blank the sorcery speed removal in his deck. So activating the Mutavault. No tricks. We've already used 2 Azorius Charms, I think. There's the Kalonian Hydra that we already knew about. That sticks. End of turn, Ian's going to rev for 3, puts him back up to 8, but more importantly draws 3 cards. One of which is his Elixir again, it looks like. He also has a Counterflux in hand. We do need to answer that Kalonian Hydra. It is lethal. So Ian either has another Sphinx's Revelation in his hand, or an Azorius Charm. Otherwise he's just posturing. But I do not know Ian Strege to be someone who postures. So Ian's just going to cast Turn on the Hydra to make it an 0-1 and lose all abilities before we attack with it, so it doesn't get the counters. And then the Mutavault coming in. Jesse deciding if he wants to, yeah, just attacks into Ian because of the tick up from Jace. Would not be able to kill the Jace. Just decides to get some damage in here. So let's see what Jesse's follow-up is here. 2 cards in hand. End of turn Sphinx for 5, and this is the point where the game slowly starts to get out of reach for Jesse, as Ian's going to be able to just chain Sphinx's Revelations every turn, sculpt the perfect hand. Looks like a Supreme Verdict left on top. We're going to go ahead and bend the Jace to reveal that verdict. Oh, 2 verdicts and a Fainted Retribution. Did he put those in the graveyard? Ian, did you put that verdict in the graveyard?
I did.
So just keeping the game state correct there. Verdict answering the threats as needed. Interesting there, I think Ian could have just sat back on Fated Retribution, and then if Jesse activates his Mutavault, can clear it out too. Oh, in the chat also pointing out that the with the just using the turn and because of the counters, that was still a 4-5 whatever creature type turn and burn makes it. There's a Garruk Caller of Beasts. I can't imagine that resolving. So the Hydra would not have gained any counters, but it still could have attacked for 4 damage there, so... Strege does not come from the school of keep all my lands in a concise arrangement. It's very much just kind of litter them about the playing field. So there's another Jace. 2 lands are a counterflux. Ian's at the point now where I think he can just ban any additional lands that he should see in that regard. Still need to find a way to win this game. Long ways off from ultimating that Jace. So this one seems mostly unwinnable for Jesse at this point. As we know, Ian has at least the 1 counterflux in his hand. Very unlikely that he only has the 1. Here's the Mutavault. Let's see if we have a turn and burn. We have an Izzet Charm. That will do the same. 2 damage to the Mutavault. Puts it in the bin. Looks like a Scavenging Ooze. No, Sylvan Caryatid. Jesse's still 1 card in hand. There's a Divination. Finding another Chase and another Counterflux. Bins the Jace. Verdict. Jace. Elixir of Immortality. So we have to, somewhat obligated to take the Elixir at this point. Replay another Jace from hand. You know, the question in the chat about is this mono green Devotion or Colossal Gruul? It's kind of all these red-green decks kind of share elements. It's very difficult to try and label them. It is more of a green Devotion deck, but well, he hasn't really played a. You're right. He hasn't really played a red card that wasn't also a green card. So let's call it mono green Devotion, as if it matters what my little thing says, but. So there's that Elixir that we already knew about, and this is a point where maybe Jesse wants to start considering scooping just to save time, just to try and get 2 more games in. There's 4 mana for a Rubblebelt Raiders, and Ian just lets it resolve. Then a turn and burn is going to answer it. Fusing those 2 together. End of turn, crack an Elixir. Go back up to 22. So Ian keeps -2ing, looking for business. I think he's probably going to take the Divination here, rather than the Counterflux. No, I stand corrected. So not the most exciting Magic that we've ever broadcast to you, but until Ian can find a win condition here, as he continues to dig with the Jace, this this should be it. I think I would. Think I might pack it in here. Ian Sphinxing for 5. I'm going to cycle an Azorius Charm. Have we found the Elspeth? There's an Elixir. We have Multiple Sphinx's Revs in our hand. So there's a Courser of Kruphix, not nearly the, not really the point in the game where you want to be casting the Courser. Jesse tacks in with his Mutavault for just the 1 damage. Jesse, like a good sport, reminding Ian about his own Jace trigger. There's a counterflux going to take out the Burning-Tree so he can't chain into anything else. And serve in again with the Mutavault. This time at Jace. Just pass back. Here comes the world's largest Sphinx's relation. Sphinx's Rev for 6. In the sideboard games, we're going to be in a Jesse's going to be much at better advantage because I can only imagine that he has multiple copies of Mistcutter Hydra in the board, which are huge in this matchup. As we see a burn take out the Mutavault. Now we can tick the Jace up and win with the Jace ultimate if we want to. As Ian enters his discard phase. We're now discarding Fated Retribution. That's the state of this game. 5 mana for an Arbor Colossus. So he cycles a Charm, then gonna loot off an Is It Charm. And the chat pointing out something that I was thinking to myself as well, that I think Ian could have won a while ago if he had just been ticking up the Jace, but he's kind of caught between two minds here, minusing the Jace to try and find his Elspeth, ticking up his Jace to get closer to ultimate. But certainly at this point, I think we would find our Elspeth at this point. There we go.
So this is game 3?
No, this is game 2. Ian won a long, drawn-out affair in game 1. Yeah, well, I think it's a situation in which some players probably might have scooped. But Jesse, well within his rights to continue playing, but it was not looking good for him. Ian was basically drawing and casting a counterflux every turn against an empty-handed opponent.
So he had a turn to take down the Voyaging Satyr.
Yeah, and this was Ian was able to overcome a game 1 in which Jesse on the play went turn 2 Emissary, Voyaging Satyr, turn 3 Nykthos. But he didn't really have anything. He didn't really have much to do with the mana except play Nylea and then sink some mana into pumping. As we see a counterflux take out Nylea. I also forgot that you have Jace. Jace is also a win condition.
Yeah.
The ultimate. Yeah. So there's a Polukranos, and that one sticks. Ian's going to use this opportunity to cycle a Golgari Charm into a Supreme Verdict.
Very trying. Not even close.
What did I say?
You said Golgari.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well,
You're drunk off this A&W.
I've been drinking since noon. Yeah, Ian drew that verdict off the charm cycle, and I think you're fine at this point trading it 1-for-1 with the Polukranos.
Yeah.
So there's a Burning-Tree into a Mistcutter. Now we wish we had that Supreme Verdict back. But it's not like leaving the Polukranos was.
Elspeth.
Well,
By
this
the
one.
way, folks, that's a 1-of. On curve.
Well, I think it makes it. Trust me, the variance balances out. Game 1, that's all Ian looked for. Could never find it after like
making
30.
Ian play with my tokens.
Of course. Well, I've already mentioned several times in the stream that he does like to party, so I'm just trying to make sure everybody on the stream knows that.
Hey, he's on Facebook now. We can't just like blindly make fun of him now because he might actually go on YouTube.
But I'm not making.
Saying you've been making fun of him before.
I have all of the time.
I'm not making fun of him.
Divination.
Yeah. I guess there's an argument. I mean, Jesse choosing not to attack because he can lose his Mistcutter in combat there, but also not. I mean, he's just in a horrible situation where he can't really answer that Elspeth as it is. I mean, you could attack it with the Burning-Tree, and you could lose your Mistcutter and get 2 damage in, but that's not going to solve your problem long term.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Oh, Evil Beard says, Hive Mind package. I like it.
Ian's conveniently sorted off his cards into Mistcutter Hydra blocking house.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how these two games have gone because, I mean, the control elements are the same. It's just that in one game, Ian could not find a win con, and in the other game, he had to desperately dig.
So Ian's going to be left with 1 soldier, but taking care of all the problem cards.
I mean, there's not really anything Jesse can do other than this. I mean, how does he answer an Elspeth?
He has Sylvan Primordial.
True.
Or Bramble Crush.
No one's playing Bramble.
I don't think he's that crazy.
What's his name? Greg Hall. Greg Hall's playing Bramble Crush in his red green deck.
All right.
Are you calling Greg Hall a nobody? Because he's probably watching.
I'm not calling him a nobody, but I've never seen a Bramble Crush in a.
You're just automatically a nobody if you play Bramble Crush.
What was the card all the way on the side?
Costs 8.
Yeah. So floating the mana here.
Oh, costs 7. Whatever. Nobody plays that card.
Just making sure to float mana here. To be honest, you can't really screw that up because you can respond to the trick. Can you do that with the Legend Rule? You can do it with City of Traders, but you can't do it with the Legend Rule. So there we go. Does this resolve?
Well, if the Garruk resolved, then the Sylvan Primordial does. Because that's like if your dramatic entrance resolves, then you can't counter the Emrakul that you're already putting.
Well, I didn't. To be fair, I had not seen the Garruk up at the top of the screen.
Ah, okay.
You also can't counter
He's
putting
running
it into
card.
play.
No, that's what I meant. Like I would not be asking this question if I had seen the Garruk. So WinCon down. So just as expected. Whether that Sylvan Primordial comes out of the sideboard or not, who knows? But a Garruk resolves, puts Sylvan Primordial into play, and Ian's WinCon is down.
This is a pretty big turnaround to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
I imagine Ian has a verdict.
Well, yeah, he's going to shuffle that over.
Yeah, I mean, this game is far from over. It's not like a one Planeswalker and one like creature are going to be able to do much damage into, or it's not like the blue-white deck can't deal with that. But
yeah, Ian should have 3 turn and burns after sideboard, so we might see a play of next turn. Attack with all my tokens. You're going to block one with your Sylvan Primordial. I'm going to turn that into a frog, which will kill it during combat, and then burn you for 2 and redirect that to Garruk.
That's a pretty fun sequence.
I hope that's what happens.
Before your tokens die.
My tokens never die. They just respond.
Well, that's interesting, but not interesting because it's the correct play. I don't know why I'm like, oh, that's interesting to do the correct thing.
That makes the second Sylvan Primordial so much better, though.
True.
Because you just Primordial the D-Sphere and get your Primordial back.
Yeah. We can't cast a Primordial right now. We can now. 6 mana for another Garruk. Is that going to resolve?
Yep.
Oh!
Is that a World Spine Worm?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
So he needs the D-Sphere.
Need a D-Sphere on that World Spine Worm.
You can also just turn and burn it.
Sure. What do you have a D-Sphere?
Yep.
Yeah, Ian didn't do his classic, well, you beat me here, so he obviously had the answer.
He has not. I haven't heard him say any of his classic phrases like, "Well, I guess I'm going to lose because I only drew 3 lands," or
Maybe he's just saying it more quietly.
no, he's in a pretty good mood tonight. But he's always in a decent mood. It's just that Ian Strege is very guilty sometimes of the mold of 6. Well, I guess I'm going to lose.
And then
He went hard. So Jesse throwing some haymakers here, but
he has 2 of those World Spine.
Those are Rubblebelt Raiders.
we're going to cycle an Azorius Charm here.
Rubblebelt Raiders pretty good. Adds 3 devotion at least.
Yeah, and it can get out of hand here. I mean, you can attack in here for a considerable amount of damage with the Burning-Tree.
I can guarantee Ian Strege's sitting right there right now thinking, though,
5.
why don't I have more win conditions in this deck?
7 mana for Sylvan Primordial. Which is this going to resolve?
Which D-Sphere are you going to get? The one with its own Primordial underneath it, and then get the one with the World Spine Worm
Yes.
underneath it?
Yes. So is Ian going to...
Oh no.
What?
No, Johnny, no.
I think that token smells. The other ones are avoiding it.
Sphinx for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, a bit of a misstep there from Jesse. I think the not necessarily obvious play, but the best play there is to Primordial 1 D-Sphere to get your other Primordial back, to target your other D-Sphere and get your World Spine World back, and then Ian is...
Looks like gives you 28 power.
Or even get the D-Sphere and then just do what you're going to do with it. At least you got that far.
So let's see if it's let's see if that comes back to haunt him here. More than anything, we should point out that Ian did Revelation for 6. So so we're just going to chump here, likely on the verdict plane at this point.
Now, Rubblebelt Raiders is also going to get very, very big. We don't find a spring verdict.
It triggers on every creature, including itself, right?
Yes.
So getting
So
2 a
it starts
turn,
off as a 3/3.
and then in that case goes up to a 5/5, and then next turn possibly an 8/8.
Yeah.
But it goes to a dead at this point because Supreme
Oh,
Verdict.
just flip me off.
I mean, to be honest, you deserved it.
I'm gonna open the door and just stare at him.
Did he tap enough mana?
Huh?
Does he have 3 mana tap?
Yeah, I think there's 2 piled in that little...
He picked up his mana to sort it all to make sure that he was doing it right. So
Ian's
we're
pretty methodical, so I would be surprised. So Jesse now, unfortunately, hellbent here. And we've used both copies of Sylvan Primordial. I don't know how many this deck would play.
Well, whenever you're just playing the Garruk for the dramatic entrance ability and not the +1, it obviously limits your cards. What's that card? Okay. Thanks, chat.
So just cycling Azorius Charm, drawing a counterflux. I mean, this is brutal for the hellbent opponent when Ian's drawing a counterflux per turn.
Yeah.
Despite having Goldfish with this deck before the tournament, for like the first 5 turns, I thought it was blue-white only. And then one of the guys is like, doesn't this deck also have counterflux in it? I was like, oh yeah. And a lot of other red cards.
Is it Satacaster in the sideboard?
Sphinx is red for 4. Ian's been doing this all night, like, not casting it for maximum.
Leaving up 2 for...
For charm, I think. Like Azorius Charm. Like to just cycle
he
it.
flashes in that Boom Satyr and he wants to answer it.
Seems fair.
9 minutes?
Find the Elspeth?
Is that what he said? 9?
Yeah.
There she
Found the
is.
Elspeth, yeah. She's back. I'm back.
There's a question in the chat, does anyone have the deck list for mono green? We do not have deck lists here, and unfortunately I do not know Jesse personally. He's just visiting from another store, so it'd be unlikely that I could get the deck list.
I can get it for you.
You could?
I'm Jesse.
You know him?
Yeah,
See?
I'm on a plan tonight.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I
We're
mean,
on the burn plan now.
If you wanted it, I could get it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, people are always interested in it.
It's very interesting. He must have another one in his hand. Is that an Arbor Colossus? Yep. He
Counter.
must have another one in his hand if he's willing to use a 2 damage burn spell in the face of giant monster deck. In the face of World Spineworm deck.
I don't know. It changes the clog. It does. Too irrelevant because I mean the ultimate's also going to change the clog, but
Right. Elspeth is on 6.
yeah. Well, it's a symbol of Super Friends here. You should put a Rouse Eric in there just for the fun.
Rouseric in the sideboard.
Well,
That
why
comes
not?
That comes in with the stat casters.
Oh, that's a dream scenario where you draw both of them.
Yeah, we're on the burn plan.
Helix, yeah. Down to 7, up to
He
34.
has the other burn.
that's why he doesn't need the
There's
light.
another one in the deck. Does he have it? He can swing for 6.
I was about to say that
Is this the slow roll?
he'd already used it, but then I forgot that this deck never uses all of its cards.
Yes. This deck gets to
There was a point earlier where you see the awkward point at which there's a Jace -2, and he has to choose the one pile that has Elixir in it instead of the 2 awesome cards. And there's the handshake. So
Well,
would
Elixir
have,
is also very, very safe on the bottom of your deck, too. That's the last card in your deck.
would have been interesting to see how differently that game would have played out if Jesse had targeted the D-Sphere,
Well, all the things just get ready for the next turn.
but he had a World Spineworm.
Yeah, he does get the 3 tokens.
So short of a D-Sphere or like an Azorius Charm or
I'm sure Ian's
a turn.
expecting all this, too,
A
right?
turn. Yeah. Well, but anyway, just to remind everybody that coming up on April 5th, that's a Saturday, at 12 noon, $25 standard Star City Games qualifier here at the store with $250 in cold hard cash goes to the winner, as well as an invite to any of the upcoming Star City Invitationals in the next coming year. Also prizes to the top 8, including packs, Open Series points if you want to try to qualify for the Invitational manually, an exclusive playmat, and a top 8 pin. We're also going to try and up the prize support. I'm still negotiating with the store to try and get that, but we'll try to have a box added if we get to 40, and then every 10